What is the topic of discussion today? The topography of cerebrum, isn't it? Topography of cerebrum. So, today we will discuss the topography of cerebrum. Okay. So, concentrate here. What is this? What is this? Which viscera it is? It is the brain. Okay. Along with its covering, meningeal coverings. You can see. You can see here, these are the meningeal coverings. Which part of the meninges it is? Which part? Which part? It is the meningeal layer of the dura mater which is forming the folds here. Okay. So, this the structure which I am removing, that is the meningeal layer of the dura mater. You can see this meningeal fold, it is forming the falx cerebri. You can see here in between the two cerebral hemisphere, the fold of the dura mater. See, there are dural venous sinuses also, isn't it? Here these are the dural venous sinuses. Which sinus? Inferior sagittal sinus and the superior sagittal sinus. So, we have discussed already the dura mater. Now, I am removing it. Now come to the brain. The brain as a whole, the topography of it. What are the parts? The whole of the cerebral hemisphere, it is divided into two halves, the right cerebral hemisphere and the left cerebral hemisphere. Okay, divided by a median sagittal fissure it is. Okay, and also it is connected on the inferior aspect by a very important structure, that is which part? When I am putting my ulnar aspect of that palm, I am feeling resistance here because there is a structure which is connecting the both halves of the cerebral hemisphere on the medial aspect, isn't it? And that structure is very important. Which type of fiber it is? It is the
White fiber.
Yes, white fibers. Which type? There are so many white fibers. Which type of fiber? Yes, very good. That is the commissural fiber. Very good. Okay. So, on the brain, this is the anterior end, this is the posterior end, and this is the lateral end. Anterior end, you will see what the nomenclature it is. Frontal. Posteriorly, it is the occipital, and laterally, it is the temporal here. Okay. So, one by one, we will discuss here. So, now, here is the section of the cerebral hemisphere. This is the right cerebral hemisphere. You can see here the sulci. The sulci here, this is the sulci and these are the gyri. The convoluted portions here, these are the gyri, and the deeper part, the groove-like structure, here it is the sulcus. Okay. So, these sulci and gyri, what it is? The gyri, it is made up of, it is known as cerebral cortex, and it is made up of what? Neuronal cells, grey matter. Grey matter, it is composed of the neuronal cells. And why it is like that? To increase the surface area. Why there is folding of the cortex here, grey matter? Because during human evolution, the brain has been done like that. It has expanded here and in the form of sulci and gyri to provide the maximum surface area. Can you say what would be the surface area of the total cerebral cortex in the human being? Anyone? It is approximately 2200 to 2500 centimeters squares. This cortical area of the cerebral hemisphere. Okay. So, now one by one, how many surfaces of the cerebral hemisphere? This is the superolateral surface. This is the medial surface. Look here, this is the medial surface which is smooth. The superolateral surface, this is also very smooth. But the inferior surface, look here, it is irregular antero-posteriorly, isn't it? This is uneven. So these are the three surfaces. This is the inferior surface which has two components. Anteriorly, what is this? This part, this is the orbital part, and this part is known as the tentorial part. Why? Because it rests on the tentorium cerebelli. Very good. And this is the orbital part because it lies over the orbital plate of the anterior cranial fossa. Now the three surfaces are there: superolateral, the inferior surface, and the medial surface. It is okay. Now borders. How many borders? This border, it is on the superior aspect and also on the medial aspect, starting from the frontal pole up to the occipital pole here, isn't it? Look, supero-medial border. Okay. Now this is the inferolateral border. This is the superomedial, and this will be the inferolateral border. And one more border, it is inferomedial border, which has got two components. Inferomedial border which has got two components. It is the medial orbital border here, and here it is the medial occipital border, isn't it? Here it is the medial occipital border, and here it is the anterior orbital border. So these three, and there is one more border, superciliary border. This is superciliary border. It separates the superolateral surface, this one, which separates the superolateral surface from the orbital surface. Okay. So this is the superciliary border here, and this superciliary border corresponds with the superciliary arch in the bone. Okay. So that's why. So these are the surfaces and the borders of the cerebral hemisphere. Now one by one, what are the major sulci and the gyri, and what are the different lobes? We have said this is the frontal pole here, this is the occipital pole here, and this is the temporal pole which is facing anteriorly. But how many lobes are there? Lobes are 4, because the parietal lobe, it doesn't have the nomenclature of the pole because it is smooth. So parietal has got no pole. It has frontal pole. Anteriorly, this is the frontal pole, this is the occipital pole, and this is the temporal pole. Okay. Now, the major sulcus on the superolateral surface, look here. Just on the superomedial border, just behind the middle of it, there is a sulcus which runs on the superolateral surface above downwards. What is this? Can you see here? On the superolateral surface, here there is a sulcus. It is known as the central sulcus. What I have removed? The folds of the, which fold of the meninges? That is the arachnoid matter. Okay, which I have stripped up. So now what is this? Can you see here a major sulcus running on the superolateral surface anteriorly and downwards? This is known as the central sulcus. Okay. Now the gyri, there is a gyrus which is parallel to this central sulcus, which is parallel to this central sulcus. This one, what it will be known as? It will be known as precentral gyrus. Precentral gyrus. Just behind the central sulcus, what is this? This gyrus, again it will be known as, what it is? Post-central gyrus. Okay. So this is the central sulcus which is dividing the pre-central gyrus and the post-central gyrus here on the superolateral surface of the cerebral hemisphere. Now, what is the nomenclature? What area it is lying over here? In the pre-central gyrus, it is the area, that is the primary motor area. Okay. And in the post-central gyrus, it is the primary somatosensory area, isn't it? Just behind this central sulcus, what is this? This is the post-central gyrus, or which carries the primary somatosensory area. It is present over here. That means, I mean to say that the central sulcus on the superolateral surface, it is dividing the motor area from the primary sensory area, isn't it? Yes or no? This motor area, it is divided by the sensory area by a sulcus which is known as the central sulcus. And what is the length of this central sulcus? It is approximately 10 centimeter. Okay. Now, this is the part of the gyrus, part of the cerebral cortex anterior to the central sulcus would be the part of the frontal lobe. What will be the boundary then? This central sulcus, here it is another sulcus. Look here. On the inferior surface, what is this? This is the inferior surface. This is the orbital pole and this is the temporal pole. Frontal pole and the temporal pole, it is separated by a sulcus, a very deep sulcus. Look here. It is separated by a sulcus which is known as the lateral sulcus. This forceps, it is lying over the stem of the lateral sulcus here, which separates the frontal lobe from the temporal lobe on this inferior aspect, on the inferior surface. But at the superolateral surface, it runs horizontally. The stem of the lateral sulcus, it runs horizontally, and when it will come to the superolateral surface, it is divided into 3 ramus, isn't it? It is divided into 3 ramus. Look here. This is the posterior ramus of what? This is the posterior ramus of the lateral sulcus, isn't it? This is the posterior ramus of the lateral sulcus. This is the anterior. This is the anterior or the horizontal ramus. This is the ascending ramus and this is the posterior ramus. So, the stem of the lateral sulcus, it is lying on the inferior surface, and the rami of the stem lateral sulcus, it is dividing on the superolateral surface over the which gyrus? The frontal gyrus. Again we will discuss which gyrus. Of the frontal gyrus, it is the inferior frontal gyrus. I will describe it. So, it is dividing like that, anterior, the ascending and the posterior ramus. Okay. At this very point where the lateral sulcus divides on the superolateral sulcus, in this stem, posterior ramus of the lateral sulcus and in the stem, there is a hidden part of the cerebral cortex here. Okay. When you will strip out this posterior ramus, so you will get the convoluted part of the cerebral cortex which is present here, and that is known as the insula. Okay. So at this very site, insula, it is dividing into the 3 components, the anterior, the ascending and the posterior ramus. Anterior and the ascending ramus are 1 inches long, 2.5 centimeter. Look here, anterior and the ascending. But the posterior ramus, it is 7.5 centimeter long. So, now the boundary of the frontal lobe will be what? It is bounded posteriorly by the central sulcus, okay, and superiorly by the superomedial border here, and inferiorly it is bounded by the stem of the lateral sulcus, okay. So, anterior to this central sulcus, it is the part of the frontal lobe. Now, come to the other sulcus. What are the other sulcus on the superolateral surface here? Anyone? Anyone? Have you heard the name of parieto-occipital sulcus?
Yes, sir.
Parieto-occipital sulcus. Look here. The parieto-occipital sulcus, it will start on the medial surface and it will extend over the superolateral surface, isn't it? So, this is the part of the occipital lobe here, and this is the part of the parietal. So, this is the parieto-occipital sulcus which starts from the, just here it is the part of the corpus callosum, and this is the isthmus here. Just below that, This is the parieto-occipital sulcus which runs backwards from here and goes to up to the upturned part of the parieto-occipital sulcus. It is lying on the superolateral surface. This one. Okay. So, an imaginary line which will be drawn from here, the parieto-occipital sulcus, and there is a pre-occipital notch which is 5 cm in front of the occipital pole. Look here, this is the occipital pole and here it is the parieto-occipital occipital notch. This is known as the occipital notch which is lying on the which border? Inferolateral border. This is 5 cm in front of the occipital pole. So, an imaginary line which first imaginary line which is starting from the parieto-occipital sulcus and up to the occipital notch. This is the first imaginary line which will divide the occipital lobe posteriorly from the parietal lobe anteriorly. Okay. This is the boundary between this imaginary line. It is forming the boundary between the parietal lobe and the occipital lobe. Okay. Now, there is one more imaginary line here which is drawn, which is separating inferiorly the parietal lobe, okay, from the temporal lobe here, so that you can easily separate the frontal, the parietal, the occipital and the temporal lobe. Okay, and then accordingly you can be able to identify the gyrus. You can name the gyrus according to the lobes of the hemisphere. So, the second imaginary line, it passes along the posterior ramus of the lateral sulcus on the superolateral surface. So, one imaginary line it is drawn over here, another it is drawn along the posterior aspect of the parieto-occipital sulcus above and the pre-occipital notch below. So, these are the two imaginary lines on the superolateral surface which divides the parietal lobe from the temporal lobe, parietal lobe from the occipital lobe. Now, inferiorly, now the parietal lobe, it is divided inferiorly by the temporal lobe by the second imaginary line and by the occipital lobe by the first imaginary line. Now, look here, this is the parieto-occipital sulcus which is starting on the medial surface. The parieto-occipital sulcus starts on the medial surface and it goes up to the superolateral surface here. Okay. Now, one by one, and one more sulcus, that is the calcarine sulcus. A very important sulcus that you know, that is the which sulcus? Calcarine sulcus. Where you will get this calcarine sulcus? Anyone? Can you identify this C-shaped structure on the medial surface? Yes or no? This is the C-shaped structure on the medial surface. This is the corpus callosum, and the posterior aspect of that it is known as the splenium. From the splenium, again posterior aspect, again a sulcus arises on the medial aspect which is known as the calcarine sulcus. Okay. So, this is the calcarine sulcus here, which starts from the posterior aspect of the corpus callosum, that is the splenium, anteriorly and runs backwards. This is the calcarine sulcus seen on the medial surface of the cerebral hemisphere, and the anterior part started just below the splenium and it run backwards posteriorly and it cuts the occipital pole here, and this calcarine sulcus also moves up to the superolateral surface. Look here, this is the posterior part, that is the occipital lobe, and this is the part of the calcarine sulcus, also it is present on the tip, that is the occipital lobe coming on the superolateral surface. Now, on this calcarine sulcus which is coming on the superolateral surface, there is a half circle. What is this? This is known as the lunate sulcus. Okay, lunate sulcus just over the calcarine sulcus. So these are the major sulcus what I have discussed. Central sulcus, it is the longest sulcus which divides the motor area anteriorly from the sensory area posteriorly. Then another more sulcus, it is the lateral sulcus, the stem of which lies on the inferior surface between the frontal and the temporal pole here, and when it comes, it runs laterally, and at the insula it runs over the superolateral surface, and it has got three branches, the anterior, the ascending and the posterior ramus. Okay. Now the parieto-occipital sulcus and the calcarine sulcus. Now come the what are the important, now the lobes you have seen here, the anterior to this and posterior ramus above, this is the part of what? The frontal lobe. Okay. Now posterior to the central sulcus, this is the part of the what? Parietal lobe, posteriorly lined by the first imaginary line and below by the second imaginary line. Now one by one the different gyrus of the each lobe. What does it means and how it functions? Okay. Now see, this is the precentral gyrus. What is this? This is the precentral gyrus, and which area? Brodmann mapping is done over the mapping for the brain areas here, which is known as the Brodmann's area. Which area is represented here? In the motor area, primary motor area?
Area number 4, ma'am.
Very good. Area number 4. Okay. But this central sulcus, look here. On the superolateral sulcus, this central sulcus also runs on the medial surface here. A little bit on the medial surface, and a gyrus which is around this central sulcus, it is known as the paracentral lobule. Okay, this is the upturned part of what? The central sulcus on the medial surface of the brain, and anterior and the posterior gyrus surrounding this central sulcus on the medial surface, it is known as what? Which part?
Paracentral.
Yes, look, think properly the nomenclature. What is the nomenclature? The paracentral lobule, the part of the gyrus which is around the central sulcus. Okay, that's why it is known as the paracentral lobule. So anterior part of this paracentral lobule will be the component of this motor area on the superolateral surface. Okay, that's why this is also area number 4 here, isn't it? A very important thing to understand here with the motor or sensory representation of the body, for the body, upside down. That means a person is lying here, the mouth, the lips, the pharynx, the tongue, it is represented on the inferior aspect of the motor area, and then the head, then the trunk, then the hand, the upper limbs. But what about the lower limbs? The leg and the foot and the perineal area. The leg and the foot, as we have discussed in the blood supply also, the paracentral lobule, anterior and posterior, these are the representing part of which? Leg, foot as well as the perineal region. Anterior part it is motor, and the posterior part it is the sensory. Somatosensory area for the leg, foot and the perineal area in the paracentral lobule. That is the, if you are asked, this is very important for the objectives and the viva, the paracentral lobules, what does the part of the body is represented here? That is the leg, foot and the perineal areas. Okay. Now, so rest part of the body other than the leg, foot and it is upside down in the motor area also as well as the sensory area, somatosensory area. So it is not just come to the gyrus in front of this pre-central gyrus and the post-central gyrus. Come forward to the frontal lobe. The direction of the gyrus here, can you see? This was transverse, the pre-central gyrus as well as the post-central gyrus. These are transversely placed. But the the frontal other gyrus on the frontal lobe, they are running antero-posteriorly like this. This is the, and these three components, there are three main gyrus running antero-posteriorly of the frontal lobe, and these three gyri are divided by two major sulcus here. What it is known as? What it will be known as? Superior? Yes, this will, yes, very good. This is the superior frontal sulcus and this is the inferior frontal sulcus. Okay, look here. This is the superior frontal sulcus here and this is the inferior frontal sulcus. That means these two sulci are present on the frontal lobe itself, so that the whole of the gyrus, in between them it is divided into the superior frontal gyrus, the middle frontal gyrus and the inferior frontal gyrus. Okay, isn't it? What I have said? Superior frontal gyrus, the middle frontal gyrus and the inferior frontal gyrus. Okay, now this inferior frontal gyrus has been divided into three components. By which sulcus? Branches of the lateral sulcus. This was the anterior branch, this is the ascending branch and here it is the posterior branch. So anterior to this it is the pars orbitalis because it is towards the orbital pole, isn't it? Orbital surface. Okay, so anterior part or the horizontal part of the lateral sulcus, anterior to that the part of the inferior frontal gyrus is known as pars orbitalis. In between the anterior and the ascending it is known as the pars triangular area here. It is known as the pars triangularis, and in between the anterior and this posterior ramus here it is known as the pars orbitalis. Okay, so why this inferior frontal gyrus is important? Anyone? The inferior frontal gyrus, the pattern, the pars orbitalis, the pars triangularis, then the pars opercularis. So area number 44 posteriorly and the area number 45. Have you heard the name of Broca's motor speech area? I have already said that anterior to that central sulcus the area should be motor, isn't it? The gyri, whatever it is, they will work for the motor function. Okay, but the speech part, whatever I am speaking right now, it is the what? Motor component, that is by the Broca's motor speech area. And where it is lying, the Broca's motor speech area, it is present over here, then the pars triangularis and the pars opercularis. Here it is the area number 44 and here it is the area number 45. Okay, so area number 44 and 45, it is the Broca's motor speech area. Now, just anterior to this precentral gyrus, the part of the superior, the middle and the inferior frontal gyrus, isn't it? All the three gyrus running antero-posteriorly, the posterior part of that, all the three towards the precentral gyrus. Okay, it is the precentral gyrus it is separated by a sulcus from all the three gyrus by a sulcus which is known as the precentral sulcus. Depending upon the anatomical position, you can be able to say this is the central sulcus, this is the precentral sulcus gyrus and this will be the precentral sulcus. Okay, because this is the central sulcus. So precentral sulcus anteriorly, the in posterior aspect of the superior, the middle and the inferior frontal gyrus, there is a special area. What is that known as? This was the motor area, isn't it? This is the motor area and anterior to that the posterior component, which it is also the part of the motor area, but the nomenclature is premotor area, isn't it? Yes, very good. Premotor area. Premotor area, it is area number, Brodmann's area.
6.
What? Very good. It is the area number 6. What it is area number 6? The posterior aspect of here. Look here, the superior, the middle and the inferior frontal gyrus towards the precentral sulcus. It is known as the premotor area because it is lying just anterior to the motor area which is lying in the precentral gyrus. Okay. So, it is like that. So, the superior, the middle and the inferior frontal gyrus. It is the posterior part, it was the prefrontal cortex or the premotor area, and the premotor area, it is also represented on the medial aspect here. Okay, premotor area, which is known as what? Which is also represented here, which is known as the supplementary motor area. Okay, what it is? It is known as the supplementary motor area, which is the part of the premotor area on the medial surface. Okay, now in the motor area, what the representation of body it is? Upside down. And suppose this was the right cerebral hemisphere, so it will contract, it will guide the which side of the body? Left half of the body. So it's the left half of the body, it is represented here. If it is the left cerebral hemisphere, then on this motor area, the right side of the body is represented. Contralateral representation is there. Okay, so what it will do? It will initiate the voluntary which type of movement? It is governed by the motor area. It will initiate the movement of the skeletal muscles. Okay, pyramidal tracts, isn't it? What about the premotor area? It is premotor area. The function should be also motor, but in which fashion, which manners? How does it works like the motor function? This premotor area, it is also connected with which areas? It is getting impulses from the motor area, and it is also connected to the basal ganglia, isn't it? Corpus striatum, basal ganglia and the thalamus. So premotor area as well as the supplementary motor area on the medial surface, that is the area number 6. What I have said? Area number 6. It is, what it is doing? It is guiding the motor area for the skilled movement. It is preparing for the motor area. It is programming the skilled movement, and it is governing the motor area for planning for the motor area to do the skill movement. Okay. What else? It is the cortex, premotor cortex. It is the cortex which is connected with the basal ganglia. So it is the site, cortical region, from where the extrapyramidal tracts, isn't it? There are pyramidal, and you have got the another terminology you have must read, that there is the extrapyramidal tracts which is related with the basal ganglia. So these are the premotor area which is controlling the extrapyramidal tracts, which is connected by the basal ganglia. Okay. Now the rest of the frontal gyrus,